Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a horror film, Honeymoon. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with the main character, B, shooting for a wedding video along with her husband, Paul. They are telling the story of how they got engaged. One day, Paul says that they were on a date and ate Indian food for their day. However, Paul says that he had food poisoning upon eating it. That is why he went to the bathroom to release it. They were supposed to spend that night together under the stars, but they only spent it in their bedsheets due to food poisoning. Still, as a failure of date as it sounds, Paul was happy because he was with the love of his life. While they bonded, Paul asked B if she would marry him, and B said yes. Their love story has always been immature but perfect. Unlike other couples in films, they treat each other very equally, which is why it's tough to see the horror mess of the story in the first scenes. For their honeymoon, they decided to go to an old family cottage located in the woods. This is B's idea because she always wanted to go to the woods. Paul says the honeymoon would be perfect for him as long as he's with her. They are having a passionate but unsatisfied tongue massage as they enter the cottage. So Paul wants to play a fast hormone game with B as soon as they enter the house. B insists that they should not do it so fast because she wants to tour Paul around the old cottage first. B tours him to their living room, kitchen, the bare room, and the bathroom. As B is touring the whole cottage, they cannot already contain their boiling libido, which is why they continue to play a long game until the night. One morning, they wake up and start preparing breakfast. Paul jokes that his wife deserves to have a delicious breakfast because she needs to rest her womb. B takes this the wrong way, and she assumes that Paul said it because he wants to have a baby with her. The husband clarifies that he does not mean it in that way. Because B is sad about it, Paul reassures her that they will still have so much time to talk about serious things in their life, and for now, they should just enjoy the honeymoon. After their breakfast, Paul inspects the bare room. He's so overwhelmed that his wife's father is a massive hunter that kills giant bears. After they talk, they go to the boat to see the lake. It's not currently the summer. That is why they are the only people in the lake. Paul jokes that B should just take her swimsuit off, because no one is around to see but them. B says she will think about it. B goes to check the water of the lake. Upon putting her hand on the water, she immediately takes it off because the water is freezing cold. At this point of the movie, it's nowhere to be seen the horror that they would face. However, these are the last fragments of their perfect honeymoon. Both of them decide not to pursue swimming in the lake because of its temperature. That's why they go to the bathroom to shower together. Again, they are enjoying their hormone game and the time they are spending together. After the shower, they both go into a restaurant to eat something. As they enter the building, they notice that it is mostly empty until they see a guy wearing a cap. The stranger says they have closed, as he breaks one of the lamps. Paul thinks the stranger has problems, so he tells his wife that they should go. As they are walking away in the restaurant, the stranger with a cap recognizes B. Strangely, he calls her by her childhood name. B recognizes that the stranger is her childhood friend, Will. After not seeing each other for how many years, they are both excited to see each other again. B introduces her husband, Paul, to her childhood friend. As they both reminisce about their time together before, Will's wife, Annie, comes to the scene. Annie looks so tired. She says that B and Paul should leave. After saying it, Will immediately grabs his wife's arm and says that Annie is not feeling good at the moment, and he apologizes for the commotion. Will says that he will prepare some food for them to eat in their restaurant. After eating, they swiftly go to the cottage because they know something is off with Will and his wife. B says that the woman was acting weird. She wonders if Annie did anything wrong to make her childhood friend mad. However, Paul says that the fault might be on Will. He was so hostile and violent toward his wife. Still, they conclude that these people are very different from them, and they are the only ones that are the best. This is the part of the movie wherein fear and curiosity are starting to kick in. While sleeping, all the lamps in the cottage start acting weird, turning on and off without a particular reason. At the same time, a beeping sound is resonating throughout the whole cottage. Because of the sound, Paul wakes up and thinks that it's his alarm beeping. He wakes up and says that he will catch B a fish for their dinner. He gets ready and takes a fishing rod and baits before going to the lake. However, as he exits the house, he realizes that the night is still deep. He checks his phone and sees it's still 3:45 in the morning. Being confused about it, he goes back to the bedroom to tell his wife about it. But he notices that his wife is missing from their bedroom. He goes to find B the entire cottage, but she's nowhere to be found. Paul starts to feel worried and fearful. Failing to find his wife in the cottage, he goes out to the woods to find her. As he seeks through the woods, he sees B naked in the middle of the forest, looking down at her feet and covering her face with both of her hands. Paul is really worried and approaches her to make sure his wife is okay. As soon as he touches her, B screams. To make sure B is okay, Paul helps his wife to walk back into their cottage. Paul asks her what's wrong and why she's in the middle of the forest in the middle of the night. B says that it's nothing, and she thinks that she must be sleepwalking. Actually, they both do not know that this sleepwalking incident would change their life forever. Ever since the incident, B starts to act weird. She has forgotten how to make breakfast. And one afternoon, when they go to the lake, she jumps off the boat, even knowing that the water is freezing cold. B says that she has been feeling tired lately. While they fall into an intimate moment that same day, Paul notices a strange pattern on his wife's smelly thighs. B insists that it's just mosquito bites, even though it is clearly not. Paul thinks that maybe something had bitten his wife in the woods when she went there. Paul goes to the woods to check it. In the middle of the woods, he finds his wife's clothes all worn out. When he goes home, he catches B talking to herself inside the bathroom. Paul finds this really odd, thinking that there's definitely something wrong with his wife ever since the night in the woods. That same day in the night, they make a bonfire in the middle of the woods and eat some burnt marshmallows. Paul is really suspicious about his wife. He thinks B is feeling really distant lately, and he says that as a married couple, B is free to say what is clearly bothering her. Paul wants B to wear her nightgown, but B aggressively rejects the idea. One night, Paul goes out of the cottage to check the woods. He sees someone looking through their windows. After finding it, he takes his shotgun and pulls the trigger for a warning shot. B wakes up and asks her husband what's wrong. Paul replies that there's definitely someone outside there. That is a threat, and he suspects that it's Will. Paul asks B if she has been seeing Will during the nights. This question upsets B, and she thinks that her husband is acting crazy and ruining their time together on their honeymoon. There's definitely something wrong with B, and Paul really wants to know about it. Until now, we can see B is keeping so many dark secrets from her husband. One morning in the lake, Paul tells his wife that he wants them to leave and get back to the city. B says that they are on their honeymoon and they should spend their remaining days together. Paul says that everything does not feel right in the cottage. That is why he wants to leave. He also tells her he really needs her. He leans to her and starts tongue massaging her. He finds his hand slipping through his wife's private but smelly part, and as soon as he touches it, B's shorts are covered with so much blood. Paul thinks that there's clearly something wrong with his wife, because before the honeymoon, he counted the days when B would have her period. B insists that it's only her period, but the calendar says otherwise. Paul goes out of the cottage to find out what's wrong, and he sees Annie looking distressed. Paul asks her if she knows where her husband is. Annie replies that Will is not there, and he is hiding. Paul notices the same mark pattern that B has on Annie's legs. Annie says that Paul should stay away from them because it is not safe, and they would only be hurt more. Paul sneaks to Annie's house, and he finds out that B has been there. He also sees some papers that are similar to what B is writing in the morning on the wall. Paul goes home, and is suspicious about the identity of his wife. He believes that she's not his wife, because she could not answer some of his questions. B locks herself in the toilet, and when Paul enters, he discovers her stabbing herself in the genitals on several occasions. Paul ties her to the bed and interrogates her about their connection, the majority of which she either forgets or misremembers. She inserts Paul's hand inside her canal and instructs him to remove a huge worm-like object from it. Because of all the happenings, it was the first time in Paul's life that he didn't recognize his wife anymore. Instead of a romantic, sweet, and caring B, all that is left to him is a woman with lies, a worn-out body, and the version of B he had never known before. B explains that the night she went missing in the woods, she spotted the same lights Paul did and walked over to them. A group of silhouetted beings approached her and impregnated her with the worm inside her. B claims to be herself, but that the figures are stealing what little she has left. Paul frantically searches for their car keys, but she refuses to let them leave. She knocks Paul out with a beam of light and drags him into the middle of the lake in a boat, with an anchor fastened to his legs. He awakens, and B explains that she is hiding him under the water to protect him from the unknown enemies. Paul tries to flee, but B tosses him into the water, killing him. The movie ends with B's skin flaking and her eyes discolored, indicating that she is deteriorating. After seeing her and Paul's wedding film, she meets a similarly deteriorating Annie. The two walk into the lights together in the middle of the woods, saying they are not alone anymore. indicating that many more ladies like them will be turned into breeding vessels by the still unknown beings hidden in the mysterious woods. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.